Hey there, Internet. Welcome back to What's the Points? I'm Mike. So, here's what you need to know in 2025 about the changes to the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Now, there's nothing confirmed yet. What I want to cover here is something that will apply regardless of what the rumored changes happen to come to pass will be, because we know that the coupon wars, as Matt Clausen calls them, are here. And so now it's up to us. How do we change the way that we play this game? Because when the game changes, we need to change. Otherwise, we get played. Here's the thing that I see that we're all missing, and that is how much time are we spending? We're always optimizing for the money, and that's great because we're looking to get value. But we're also looking to maximize our efficiency. And in that is not just the time that we spend, but how enjoyable this hobby is, how sustainable it is, and how much risk there is. Because the more things there are to track, as anyone will tell you with any project, regardless of whether or not it's credit cards, the more likely it is that you're going to miss something. You know, that's all part of the learning process. We're all going to miss a few things and adjust our strategy based on that learning. But the reality is that things are getting more complex in the premium credit card space. There are some benefits to this, but the bottom line is that the value that we get from these additional coupons has to be organic. My definition of organic is spending that you would do otherwise. You know, there's always some gray areas in this, right? Like you could look at the fact that Chase is not giving you a general rideshare credit. They're giving you Lyft credits. And so they're forcing you to choose Lyft over Uber. Now, maybe that's not that big a deal for you. For me, you know, it's a little annoying because if you got to get somewhere, especially when there's peak pricing, you know, sometimes one will be a lot cheaper than the other as far as Uber versus Lyft. That's just one example. But anyone who's had the American Express Platinum for a while will tell you it's not an easy thing to do. You know, you can get tools like card pointers, which I highly recommend. You can use your spreadsheets and you can track all of your different credits, your monthly credits, quarterly credits, etc. But the reality is that we need to look at how many of these credits are actually going to be spent organically. And those that aren't, I believe, we need to discount, maybe fully discount when we calculate our net annual fee, which is my preferred term versus the more popularly used effective annual fee. Net annual fee, to me, encapsulates the idea better that it's what you are actually paying based on your spending habits. Whereas effective annual fee, I think, is an attempt by the credit card community to come up with a general metric of looking at, you know, let's say the Capital One Venture X card. That one is pretty easy example, right? Because it's a $400 annual fee as of May 2025 anyway. And there's really only two main credits that you get. You get a $300 travel credit through the portal, and you get 10,000 bonus miles each year, which have a floor value for travel purchases of 1 cent per point, which would be $100. So in effect, you're getting a $0 effective annual fee. Do you use Capital One miles each year? I mean, obviously you should if you have this card, but do you always use that travel credit? Now, in this example, I think it's easy enough to make the case that, well, I can use the travel portal once per year to book a flight or to book a hotel. That's fine. You know, so in that case, I think for most people who would or should consider that card, you're going to have a $0 net annual fee. But what about, again, coming back to the time? Now, it's a little murky, right? This is a little bit more of an art than a science. But at some point, there's going to be some science, there's going to be some mathing, because if you're an enthusiast in this game, you probably have multiple of these cards. And when that annual fee posts, especially for year 2, when you've already gotten that sign-up bonus in year 1, Now you got to really look and say, okay, is my net annual fee positive? And I would make the point also that it shouldn't just be positive, but it should be significantly positive. And now we're looking at more than just the credits, right? That's kind of the weakness here, because net effective annual fee, even though it's an improvement over effective annual fee, it still doesn't take into account how much value are we getting from the benefits, how much value are we getting from the multipliers and the earning. So there's a lot of things we can do to calculate that. We can look at how much we expect to spend in each category. But again, that's part of the complexity issue here. And if you've been following some of these changes, and I'll leave that to my colleagues for the time being to report out on what these rumored changes are. But suffice to say, there's a lot more credits coming. And regardless of whether the rumors are going to be true, we know this is going to happen. It's inevitable. This is the direction that the premium travel credit card market is going in. And we've seen this already, of course, with the United cards. And in my opinion, and a lot of others' opinions, actually, it's a very mixed bag. It's looking a little bit better for the CSR, I think, in terms of the net value that the average person would see. But let's be honest, a lot of these coupons are junk, and we have to change our spending habits. Now, maybe that's not such a big deal. Maybe we don't mind. Maybe it's actually fun, or we consider it something we don't mind doing. That's okay. I'm not trying to tell you don't get this card or that you shouldn't count those things. I'm just saying that we need to be more realistic over what the benefits that we're getting, because there's too much, as I call it, opportunity cost, meaning where could you have put your spend and where could you have put your time to get a better overall return for the amount of both money and time that you're putting into this. And so if there's a simpler setup that would achieve your same goals and spend less time, then that's what you should be looking at. And so maybe the CSR, if it works for your travel lifestyle, and this additional annual fee raise, which right now it's looking like it's going to go up quite a bit, right? We're talking about going up from $550 to just under $800. And regardless of what that ends up being, it's not only that we also have to overcome that, but now we have to track all of these other credits. And we have to, regardless, for the most part, unless you're sort of an edge use case where you're traveling every single week or something like that. For the most part, you need to look at this and compare it to what your options are. So that's really the gist of what I'm getting at here today. This is not necessarily intended to give you a specific recommendation or review of this card versus the other. I myself have the CSR, and I'm watching this very carefully because my annual fee is about to post at the beginning of June. And it's funny because I was planning to downgrade this, and not because I don't get good value out of the CSR, I actually do, but because the other cards I have in my setup right now are doing most of the heavy lifting that the CSR can do. Plus, I'm finally going to be down below the Chase 524 limit so that I can start opening new Chase cards, including hopefully a new Sapphire card at some point. And so because of that, I was planning to downgrade, but now I might not. Because if the fee's about to go up, then I might as well keep this one at the lower fee, and then I'll have the benefits of the new product, the new version, without having to pay the additional amount until the renewal next year. So for that reason, I'll probably keep mine. I'll let you all know what I end up doing. But that's really the messages here, is that this is the key point that I just don't see enough in the credit card YouTube space. It's something that we need to look at for ourselves, which is, what is the cost of the complexity? How much complexity are we willing to take on and to manage from year to year? It's something to look at. There's a lot of different ways to play this game, as far as whether or not you use a roadmap for what cards you want to open and when, whether or not a core credit card setup is important to you, especially once you get past the phase of where you're just going after one sign-up bonus after another. Because that's kind of where I'm at. I've been doing sub after sub, and I'm at a point now where I have a lot of complexity. And even though I travel a lot, I'm looking to get my annual fees down a little bit, but also optimize the total amount of benefit that I have relative to the amount of travel that I expect to do this year. And I'll still be able to have some really great experiences, and hopefully do it in a way where I'm a little bit less preoccupied over whether I've hit all of my different credits this month. So happy hunting out there, y'all, and let's take care of each other. Ciao for now.